So welcome everybody to this presentation. My name is Thelma Brenes. I work as an evaluation officer for FMO, the Dutch Entrepreneurial Development Bank. We work in financial inclusion, and we have finance financial service providers like Sartawi in developing countries. I am this session is going to talk about one impact evaluation that FMO commissioned in Bolivia for one of our partners, Sembrar Sartawi. And I'm here with Oscar Pammo, who is representing Sartawi, and Adriana Garcia, as a researcher from the University of Groningen. They were conducting the research over 4 years in Bolivia. Please, if you have questions about where we are staying, put your questions in the chat. The results, the report is also publicly available in the internet of FMO, so you can search that evaluation and you will find more information. But here we want to have an open conversation with you. I will start briefly about explaining about why we did this evaluation, what do we wanted to learn from it. And then Adriana will explain about the results more concretely. So we know FMO, we work with finance service providers like Sartawi, and one of our aims as an organization is to reduce inequality. That's SDG 10. Back in 2015, 16, a few years ago, when we started this evaluation, there were 4 elements playing around that led us to this study. And one is, well, the country context was very important. 35% of the people in Bolivia live below the national poverty line. And poverty is especially concentrated, or we see more rural people being overrepresented when we look at the poverty profile. So it's rural, women, and indigenous communities. At the same time, we have seen that in the microfinance sectors, there have been increased effort to offer non-financial services. So next to loan, help with technical assistance and other business-related services. Sartawi, in that moment, was launching something called the Triangle Business Model. And it was a model that combined the microloan of Sartawi with technical assistance to farmers, plus access to market through companies who would buy that produce from farmers. And they were wanted to launch that, is across several branches. So for FMO, that was quite an innovative model, and we wanted to know what the impact was. At the same time, when we were looking at the evidence and what empirical evidence would say about how these 3 components play together, we couldn't find much information about it. So there was not empirical evidence on what is the income effects on farmers when you do microfinance combined with technical assistance and market access. There is a lot about microfinance, which is highly inconclusive. And sometimes some of those papers even said that only provided a loan won't be able to increase the income of farmers. So we wanted to help to close that gap with this study. And we started more than 3-4 years ago and did a really rigorous long-term research. Now we have concluded the evaluation in 2020, and we are happy to share some of the results here with you. So please put your questions in the chat, and now I hand over to my colleague Adriana.
Thank you, Thelma, for the introduction. Now, as you say, I'm going to briefly describe the main results of this study and just guide you through the main conclusions as well. But before going to that, I would like to share with you why this evaluation is important in terms of, for instance, scientific research. We believe it contributes to the non-conclusive scientific evidence on the impact of non-financial services that microfinance institutions offer. As Thelma said, there are not much, there's no quantitative evidence about the impact of technical assistance actually on end users. There are some studies who actually evaluate the impact of other services like business services, such as, I don't know, accounting training, leadership, etc., or some social services such as education and, I don't know, health, for instance. But the main difference with technical assistance is that these services focus much more on the production side, not on the business side of it. So we aim to contribute to this evidence that it's actually asking for more and more studies. On the other hand, I think that the evaluation, it's also important for the MFIs, because this can be a guide for them in the decision-making process, that they may choose which services they offer, how do they offer that, for instance, which services they can combine for so. Now, about the objectives that we set at the beginning of the evaluation, there are two main objectives. The first one is to learn whether microcredit access actually impacts the income of clients in rural areas. And on the other hand, we also aim to learn whether the triangle model that Thelma explained before, which consists of microcredit plus non-financial services, technical assistance, and market access, if this triangle adds value compared to a standard microcredit model. So these are our main objectives and why I think it's important, but I will share with you some facts just to give you an idea of the MFI that we work with before we go to the main results. Sartawi is a microfinance institution in Bolivia. It is present in 7 of the 8 regions or the main provinces in Bolivia. And it actually serves clients in the urban and the rural areas, but mainly, half and half, I will say. They actually focus a lot within the rural areas clients to promote loans among agriculture. They actually serve, for instance, most women who only have access to the Sartawi microcredit loan and who live with, on average, $3.2 a day. So these are, we will say, vulnerable population who actually work with Sartawi. So to tell you a little bit more about the triangle model, so this is how actually Sartawi presents that. Just give me a second, please. Yeah, okay. So this is how Sartawi presents the model as a triangle with these 3 services that actually complement to each other. So we work with, Sartawi offers this business model in 3 branches. And for our study, we focus specifically in one of the branches. This branch mainly works with milk producers. These are actually pictures from the field when we were running the evaluation. And as we said, they provide the microcredit, and in addition to that, they provide this technical assistance, which consists in this particular case on providing a veterinarian who works closely with the clients. So the veterinarian, he actually schedules regular visits to the clients so he can guide them on whatever they need. This is a very personalized or individualized service. On top of that, there is this market access, which consists on actually negotiating with the firms, in this case, the firms that buy the milk and process the milk into other products, such that they collect the milk in some delivery points within these communities. So this actually helps a lot the farmers to have well, a secure market, but also there are some agreements with Sartawi that those clients who sell the milk through this agreement, they will have a lower interest rate because the payment actually goes directly through the company. So in this case, the repayment is, well, less risky. About the methodology that we use to, evaluate the impact of Sartawi on its clients, we actually conducted the evaluation in two parts. In the first part, we focus specifically on the impact of the microcredit, and on the second part, we focus specifically on the impact of the non-financial services, on the triangle model, but specifically on technical assistance and market access. So we actually conducted this evaluation throughout the years. I will show you the timeline here. We started the evaluation in 2015 with the microcredit evaluation, and then we move on to the technical assistance and market access. We collected data on the field, and we actually used non-experimental approaches to measure the impact. If you are interested in these more technical aspects, I will not go deeper into them because of time restrictions. But if you are interested on that, you can go to our paper, which is actually, well, one of the paper that presents the technical assistance and market access evaluation, which is published in the Journal of Development Studies. So now I will move on to the results very quickly. What we found about the microcredit side of the evaluation. So it was actually not surprising for us, based on the previous studies, that we couldn't find these positive or transformative effects. But if we actually looked into specific groups, we had some interesting lessons from our study. So, for instance, we learned that the larger impacts of microcredit came from these areas where people are poorer and that they have less options of microcredit. And also they have less investment opportunities rather than agriculture, where the area where we conducted the studies was mainly focused on agriculture. So for those clients who live in the poorer areas with less microcredit penetration and less outside opportunities, we found larger impacts. So in contrast to that, or in line to that, we found that the regions with higher microcredit penetration, and that means other options of microcredit institutions, well, microcredit had no impact on household income. And in those regions with less penetration, so those that had, we will say, more positive impact, we actually found kind of this replacement effect, because we saw that farmers actually had some losses in their agricultural business, but actually increased the income in other business. It seems that the farmers prefer to invest in non-agricultural business. And we conclude, based on qualitative evidence that we collected in the field, that one of the reasons is that when there is no financial services, such as technical assistance and market access to boost the agricultural business, they tend to move out of this business. Now, about the technical assistance evaluation, we actually find different results. Different results when these financial services are offered. First of all, we find that the daily meal production increased by 11%, or I will say it in other words, compared to those farmers who, those farmers who receive these financial services compare to those farmers who do not have or do not receive these non-financial services. The daily meal production is higher by 11%. And also for those farmers who receive these non-financial services compared to those who do not receive them, the monthly income, specifically for milk, is higher by 16%. And in this case, we found no losses in agricultural business. So very quickly, what we learned from this study is that offering actually non-financial services may reduce vulnerability of clients, and at the same time, it can benefit the microfinance institution. For instance, the technical assistance and market access from Sartawi increases production and increases income. That's what we learned from our impact evaluation that we used based on quantitative data and based on rigorous procedures, rigorous approaches to measure the impact. But it's interesting that we also learn from other focus groups and interviews from, like I will say, qualitative evidence, that for the MFIs, these non-financial services are also very, very beneficial in the way that they increase repayment rates, and also they increase loyalty of clients. So some suggestions for Sartawi, but these can be also takeaways for other microfinance institutions, is that we actually recommend to expand this triangle business model. But based on what we learned from our study is that we suggest to do so on very specific characteristics. For instance, among clients who are close to market, so that this agreement with the MFIs can be made also among with these buyers companies, and also among homogeneous clients, as we did with only milk production, milk producers, and with low microcredit penetration. That means that clients will have less options among microcredit. And I think that's it from my side. I will just give the floor to Oscar.
Thank you, Adriana and Thelma. Welcome, everybody. My name is Oscar Pammo. I work in Sartawi for 10 years, and I'm very used to this model. And I want you to pinpoint some aspects. It's important to understand the philosophy behind the model. Bolivia is a very big country. We have a lot of biodiversity, but we have a lot of rural people that lives and works in the fields, but also we are a poor country. So there are all the conditions to keep the people in their communities and mitigate the migration. Migration is a very big problem in Latin America, and I believe in all the world, because the people in the fields go to the big cities only to live badly and get unstable works. Our model achieved to get the local development. So if the people can live well in their communities and can have the means to live well in their communities, it's less likely that they might want to migrate to the cities. That's the main idea. And that's the idea of giving to our clients not only financing, but technical assistance and access to markets so they can produce well, produce better, and sell their products at a better price. This is the main idea of the model. And on the base of what Adriana has said, we are not very encouraging to expand this model to other areas in the country. We are not identifying 6 branches in the country. So we can get from 2,000 clients now at the moment to around 5,000 clients and their families in the next 2 years. That's one of the next steps that we are working right now, but it's not enough. Our model helps the clients with financing, with the productivity, and with the merchandising of their products. But the small producers face a great challenge related to climatic change. They suffer from floods, droughts, hail, rains, and we also working to identify risks to our clients and help them to mitigate these risks through the provision of microinsurance and agricultural microinsurance. Now we have started again. Sadly, this 2020 was a very disruptive year. We couldn't put in place a lot of projects, but now we are in track again. And we aim to impulse this model and also help our clients to face the climatic risks. Another point that is important is, and also it's a product of this COVID situation, is the digitalization of all the processes. Many of our clients live around the poverty line. They don't have access to financial services, and they are not very used to the technology. We have to help them to use the technology in their behalf so they can access to the benefits of the efficiency of using new technology. Now we are working in a project that aims to promote the financial inclusion in rural areas, and you only need to have is mobile telephonic coverage. They don't need to have smartphones or big infrastructure. They only need to have a very simple telephone through they can make financial transactions. We are not working in that kind of projects. We are very excited on the findings that Adriana has explained. And we believe that helping the client with the model, with mitigating risk solutions, and getting them near technological tools to implement their life we are going to meet our goal to keep the people prosper in their communities and avoid these migrations that generates not only poverty, but also a lot of contaminations in our big cities. That's what we are doing right now. And I think that if you have questions, I'm ready to answer those questions.
Thank you, Oscar, for closing the presentation with the practical perspective of what Sartawi is doing. I think for us, for FMO, was a really interesting and inspiring exercise just to commit to this long-term evaluation. We learned a lot in the sense of, there is a lot out there about whether microfinance or not has impact, but really measuring and quantifying that effect when you combine it with non-financial services, that was the part that for us was missing. So it was reassuring and confirming the relevance that we now as investors have to look at these other services that are provided next to the microloan. We have a question here from Birgit. She's asking, do you employ agricultural or agronomists, I can imagine, for providing knowledge to the clients? Do you price those costs into the loan price? And she's asking, are you offering group trainings in the little farms of the clients, or are you linking them with external trainers? Oscar, I guess that's for you.
Yes. Sorry about her background sounds, but
just
I
think
you can hear me
Birgit
right.
is there, so I don't know if she wants to add anything to that question.
What was your question now to me?
If you want to add anything to your question.
But it could come when Oscar is explaining.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Go ahead, Oscar.
Thank you. Hello, Brigitte.
Hello,
yes,
Oscar.
we work with special trained people. So they are not only, the financial part is under the lead of our credit analysts. So there is no problem there. But we have field people. They are agriculturalists. So they know the crops, they know the problematics, and they know also the solutions. And also we use two approaches. One is one by one, like Adriana said, in one picture with a veterinarian who goes to the client and helps them with their problems. But also we group the people and create this like of classrooms to transmit best practices in their own crops or livelihood. So we work in both ways. At the moment, Brigitte, we are not charging any cost to the client, because the client, first they need to know and they need to appreciate this technical assistance. Once they realize that that is important for them, that improves their productivity, they are willing to pay. So, for example, with the dairy line of products, we began with very basics training, free from them. But now we are doing some artificial inseminations, and they are willing to pay some money for this because they can see the result of this technique and how it improves the cattle that they have. So we work in that way at the moment. Okay,
very good. Just so at the moment, in the beginning, you take this extra, first of all, I have to understand the 5 people there, these are your loan officers, which have in addition the agricultural education. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I know that from Uganda I had there, and she could do so well, but she was only one in a bigger MFI. And so the second thing was, at the moment you take from your surplus to invest in this new idea, because you are not increasing the loan price, because you also have additional trainings. As I understood, you connect to training providers, or is it still in-house?
No, we connect with training providers also.
Yeah, and those costs are carried either through subsidized things, or you carry it.
At the moment, yes, Brigitte, at the moment, yes.
Yeah,
But
and then
as I said, in time, we expect that the clients will be willing to pay something, not all the technical assistance, and also the local governments, because as they can see that their people are prospering in their communities, they might want to support this initiative and also put some kind of money. And maybe we expect that maybe some investors also are willing to put some money so we can cover the cost of this technical assistance.
Yeah,
maybe also from my side, from the investment side, I'm not from the business side, so I'm more from the social performance measurement side. But things that we saw interesting here and about this business model is that repayment capacity is just better, right? Because basically what happens is that the company Sartawi gets the money directly from the buying company. So the possibility or the likelihood that the farmers are not going to repay that loan are very low. And the second one, FMO, and especially the fund that invested in Sartawi is quite impact driven, right? So we are offering these concessional funds, for the effect and the impact that they are having, and the positive impact they are having in farmers. And the idea is how we can attract also more of this kind of investors to finance business models like the one of Sartawi.
Very good. Thanks.
Thank you, Virgit, for the question. There is another one question in the chat, and the organizers have given us a little bit like 5 or 10 more minutes to continue with the discussion. And Alexandra is asking, how do you design efficient market access programs? Who are your entry points and partners? And how do you manage them through time? I guess these questions relate to the market access and how Sartawi connects the farmers to the market access. Alexander, if you're there, let me know if you want to add anything to your question. Well, it seems like, no, go ahead, Oscar.
Okay, I want to pinpoint what just Thelma said. The efficient system, or the efficient way to make this is counting with big enterprises who can buy all the production of the farmer or of the smallholder. In Bolivia, there are no big industries. We are most commerce and service country. But if you can get one big anchor a company that can buy all the production, you can mitigate the credit risk because these big enterprises can pay to us the loan and the rest to the client. So this is the most efficient way. The problem is what happens when there is no these big companies that can buy all the production. There is an alternative way to open the market to the client is giving them information. Where are the best prices for the products? For example, in the potato sector, we are a potato country. We produce a lot of potato, but we have 3 or 4 big markets for the potato in the main cities. So if we can give to the client where at the moment are the best prices, so the client can directionate all this production to the best market where they can get the best prices. It's one way to open the market to the client by using the information. But again, ideally, the idea is to have anchors companies who can buy all the production of the people under these programs.
Thanks, Oscar. And I think that's a challenge, more than the technical assistance, perhaps, maybe, and you can give me your opinion there, but I can imagine that trying to find a company who will aggregate and collect the produce from farmers can be a challenge in our countries. Or how do you see when you are trying to expand that triangle business model to other areas in Bolivia?
Yes, that was a big challenge, Thelma, because in those 10 years, we have fighting a lot to get this model in place. We have a success with the dairy line of products. Now we are entering in the potato. There is some not so big companies, but some companies that can buy in some sectors of the country all the productions. And also we are entering now in the market of the coffee. We have a lot of coffee producers in the northern part of the country, and this coffee is the good quality. We are helping them to improve that, and we have 2 big coffee companies in Bolivia that can buy the products. We are in the process of doing that because it's not easy. Fighting against the migrations to the big cities is a big problem, because the people tends to do that when they have some problem with their crops or their livelihood. That's what it's important to put in place some mitigative solutions like microinsurance, so the producers have the support. You know, there is no, every year is good for the producer in the fields. You have good years and bad years, and we have to have the flexibility to provide them financing assistance with the model, but also some mitigation to the credit risk that they face.
Yeah, and I think this is becoming even more important with the topic of climate change and the effects that they have on farmers, right, on their productivity, on their income. And I know that Sartawi is already working on that, so we are, yeah, as an investor, trying to also work with Sartawi on that topic. Before we could, I wanted to give the opportunity to someone else, or Birgit, if you have any other questions before we close the session. Well, I think that's it for today. Thank you a lot for your attention. Like I said, we continue working with Sartawi. So if you have questions about the study, you can contact either of us, Adriana, Oscar, and me. We have been working on this for years, so we are really happy to share the findings and to you know, to disseminate what we have learned from this study and from working with Sartawi.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.